What's going on? Alright guys, today I'm doing an interview with Shane and Tia. Holy schmoly, it is windy. Today I'm doing a debrief with Shane and Tia on the Rogue Invitationals via Zoom. It's Tuesday here in Australia, it's currently Monday night in the US, and so yeah, enjoy the interview. So you might or might not recognise this. This is where the Noble doco was shot whilst Tia and Shane were here in Australia. Alright guys, big congrats on winning the Rogue Invitationals. So
I love it, I'm straight into it, hey, no small talk.
What is it like competing without a crowd?
Oh, that's funny. I've had a few couple of drinks. So. Okay, I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be like the open a lot more, but once it was 3, 2, 1, go, it didn't matter whether there was no music. It didn't matter that there was no cheering allowed or no spectators. For me, it just felt like, I had a job to do and I just had to go out and execute that. And I was surprisingly impressed.
Like, I think the reality of it, like with no music and that's actually more common than people give credit to. Like you know that too, Pat. Like with with NRL or anything like that. Like NRL, like there's no music at the moment while the events are going.
That's rugby for people who don't know what NRL is.
Yeah, that's true. But like even athletics, while they're doing track and field, like there's no music going on there. When they're doing triathlons, I think 90% of them won't have music on. Surely not. But what I'm saying is like that's an element that you gotta sort of simulate at some period of your time through training. And I'm sure those guys that spend a lot of time in the gym, it's nothing you really take notice of by the end of it, because you've listened to every soundtrack could possibly be out there. And I think it was great. I think it was, considering what Rogue had to face, like with all the moving parts involved with it, to have no music, I think is a small cost in relation to what the cost Rogue put in, like physically, obviously money and all that, but the effort required. I think it was a good trade-off anyway for the athletes. But that's my point. That's my 2 cents, Jay.
So what's that?
Too much
Jay means
Jay means
crying like, oh my gosh. Okay, why didn't you compete on your home turf, CrossFit Mayhem? Why were you off location there?
So that's a good question. At the time,
you're welcome.
When this all came about, I assumed that I would be doing it CrossFit Mayhem. That's where I predominantly trained. But I found out that they actually had a level 2 seminar on at that weekend. And so I had no other choice but to go and look elsewhere. And so I considered gyms in Nashville. I also considered other locations, Kentucky. But I found out through some members and just word of mouth that there was actually a gym in Sparta, which was the next town over, or the next county over.
Was that far to drive to, or?
It was about a 20-minute drive, to the actual location from home.
Look, so we understand that for the many people living in the city, that's just down the road. But when you live in Cookville and you come from a small town like Weeper, that's a bit of a drive.
And it was on a highway. So it was 20 minutes on a highway to get there. So it's different between, a 20-minute drive with lights and going through streets and everything like that. Whereas when you're on the highway for 20 minutes, it's actually a lot further than what you anticipated. And
so you didn't get accommodation?
No, we got to come home every night. We got to stay at our own place, sleep in our own bed, which was really good.
I think that's honestly, we try to make everything as much familiar as we've had in the past. We didn't want to add too many different variabilities, considering it was meant to be a home gym or home workout style setup.
So, next question, people. What was your favorite behind the moments scene?
I think, oh, well, you go.
This is another good question.
Oh, thank you.
You're a good interviewer, Patty. So I really liked, on Friday, we had a little bit of a rehearsal. We had the opportunity to meet our judge, and I was sitting down at the time.
The whole world can hear this. It's just only for this.
Sorry. I was sitting down at the time, and I looked up, and here was Joe, who was my judge, Jackie, who was my operations manager, and Shane, all just talking between the two of them, the three of themselves. They were measuring out like my 12 by 12 square box that I needed to compete in. And Joe had his folder full of all the judging information and everything like that. And for me, that was something that really hit really close to home, of just how lucky I was to have such great people in my corner, and people that didn't even really know me. Jackie has known me since moving to Cookville, but I literally met Joe that day, and he was so passionate, and just having everyone work together to try and help me out for this weekend, that was something that was really, really special. And to just watch the gym owners embrace and welcome Shane and I into their community. They even took their classes outside for the day so that we could be there on Thursday and Friday to actually have the gym and, deck it out and make sure it was everything that we needed. And that was something, it was just so special. And I'm just so grateful that I had really good people in my corner.
And Shane?
Yeah, mine. Yeah. Mine's not as elaborate as that, but I would have to say.
People like detail.
Yeah. Mine's somewhat the same, I guess. But put it, I guess, simply, mine's more about the process. I think when you see the moving parts will go around behind the scenes of the camera, of like having the score in check, and then having our judge checking in with us, and then myself just making sure that the other elements are in control. But more importantly, just watching Tia be focused is another thing. I guess you put a lot of effort into the weekend, right? Like there's a lot of things will go behind it. So I guess if I had to put a time frame, my period behind the scene was actually 2-3 months ago, when we were preparing for the event at hand. Like when it got announced that it was going to be an online competition, and then there was going to be a lot of unknowns, or a lot of different elements than what we anticipated originally, from having it in Ohio to having it in a gym. I think watching that process unfold and making sure that we're preparing ourselves for a very unusual competition. So that would probably be behind the scenes process. What I was going to say, favorite of mine.
Oh, before we continue, there was one moment that was really funny, and it was, in action, and it was on the clean. So I just clean and jerked the 265, and we were wondering if that had confirmed that I had won the event. Well, I'm looking at Joe, my judge, and he's got an earphone in, and he's listening to all the judges in the background, and I'm asking him to confirm with them if I won, but he wasn't getting a response. And then Shane was also asking Joe, and then Shane got his phone and was calling Maggie, who is another operations manager in Salt Lake City. And it was so funny as I'm like sitting there, and
so at the time it wasn't
emotions.
funny. At the time it's not funny. You 10 seconds is feeling like minutes, so you're trying to like maximize our recovery.
But this is hilarious because Shane's kind of, being like, Joe, tell us what's happening. And Joe's staying so calm and collected. And he's like, you have 1 minute to go. And then, you know, here we are freaking out and thinking like, oh shit, we have to go. Like, tell us, do we have to lift this or not? And there was just so much going on at the time.
It's built up because obviously you're at the pointy end of the event and you're like,
Yeah.
you got to get this part right. And then, yeah, it was pretty tense. I wouldn't say that's certainly a favorite, but I suppose it's a bit of an insight.
Awesome.
Now it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So guys, if we carry the 1 and make that 2, what's it like carrying 2 times your body weight to get to the 270? Can you walk us through the process of when with that event, the clean and jerk, can you just walk us, what was going through your mind? You didn't know what the other athletes were doing what was going through your mind was like, okay, what's everyone up to? Obviously, you got some
were a bit different.
You've got some heavy hitters in there. You've got Cara Webb. You've got Amanda Barnhart. The likes of those people. Can you walk us through what was going through your minds there?
Well, so before I actually competed or started that event, I had a particular goal at mind, and it wasn't until just before I started that I realized that we only go up to a certain number, and then that's when the tie break time from the 7 clean and jerks kick in. So I was initially anticipating going up to 290, and that was like a personal goal of mine. So once I realized that I think the only lift, like you can only go up to 265, I wasn't quite sure what happened after that. For me, I had to kind of think back to my weightlifting days, and I also thought back to the CrossFit games when we were doing our squat cleans. And so those past experiences really helped this. And even though I couldn't see my spectators, I still had to be aware of, okay, anyone could still be in this fight. So I kind of need to just focus on me and just get to the end of the ladder. But, the other thing is personally, for me, starting at 195 and doing only 5-pound increments, that's a lot of rounds, and we're starting at quite a low, light weight in comparison to what I normally would start at. So that was something that I had to really factor in as well. And so it was very important and crucial that I needed to save my energy, keep lifting and using that as a warm-up, but not until, maybe the 240, where I could start to actually use a little bit more energy and start to get a little bit more hyped up before I lifted. And so by the time I got to 265 and then did the 270, I was ready, I was warm, and I still had enough energy, even though I lifted quite a lot prior. I was ready, and I had the right energy that needed to lift the weight.
I think, Pat, there's a lot of things that go into those events. Like, you think it's simple, hey, like you just think you're just doing up 5 pounds, but like Tia was saying, that she calculated how much energy she wanted to expend for the early rounds. She actually made her technique a bit more relaxed than you would for the later rounds. I think we talked about it earlier, that there's other things we factored in, like because the workout actually, what Tia factored or considered how long it would take, it would be over 60 minutes worth of lifting, right? So you'd have to start considering nutrition, like eating throughout the event, hydration throughout the event, maximizing your rest periods for the later rounds, like Tia was mentioning. But with the double ×2 body weight, that's kind of a byproduct. Like, as much as it's an awesome feat, the beauty about CrossFit is that you can't spend too long celebrating about those things, because there's another one around the corner if you're chasing it, so to speak. So we're very fortunate that, well, I'm very fortunate and very proud that Tia was able to create another cool, achievement. I think it's quite, to put in context, I think that in Australia, there's only ever been one other female to have done it at this particular time, best of my knowledge. So for Tia to be on that list is certainly a massive milestone. And I know that I'm pretty far off it, so I physically can't walk you through that. But if I was to, I'd say it's heavy.
So what brought on the raw that everyone was talking about, like your post-try celebration kind of thing? Like after you
I
jumped the 270, what was going through your mind then?
Yeah, I think that it was just a reaction of emotion that just came out unexpectedly. But a part of it, I'm always up for a challenge, and so when someone challenges me, I can't help but just get that hunger and be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, you want to see that happen? Well, bring it on, let's go. And a part of me was like, is that all you've got? And so, that rule was kind of like, yeah, come at me kind of thing. And it was more of like, all right, you have all those judges and officials and everything behind the scenes at Rogue. And I mean, I love them dearly, and they know me on a personal level. So they know me very well that I was going to, like, take that opportunity. But a part of me was like, God, come on, like, I just, it was just a raw emotion, really. But no hate whatsoever. I just come across very aggressive sometimes.
So I think the learnings from that, Pat, the owner of Rogue, Katie, she was actually the one pulling the strings to make sure that Tia did another lift. She was like, don't tell her. If she wants to stop here, let her stop here. So we found that pretty funny. We found that funny at the end when Katie was playing with Tia there.
That's hilarious. All right, guys, next question, because the sunlight's dropping in the background.
Oh, you can. What about this? Would there be light? Boom. Hello. Oh, I feel like I'm on the sunset. I feel like I'm on sunrise.
Oh, we've got the production here, people.
Yeah,
we're professional.
We just want to thank. What's the name of this podcast, Pat?
More Orr.
Oh yeah. I just want to thank More Orr for setting up the lighting, and he's got an international team come out all this way.
Yep, no worries. All right.
No expenses. Sorry. Yep.
All right, IKEA light. Okay. How's Matt going, and how's he going with his training?
Yeah, I think Matt's in Gladstone at the moment.
Matt Fraser, not Matt Orr.
Okay. Well, Matt Orr's doing all right. I think he's in Gladstone, but Matt Fraser's good. There's a lot of comments on the Rogue side about, where's Matt? Anyway, he put a post out earlier saying that he was injured, and he had a minor injury, a bit of a setback, but he's certainly back on track. I can certainly confirm that. He's in a pretty healthy state of mind right now. I think he was actually, if anything, this Rogue comp going ahead without him actually put more fuel to his fire. I can see there's a bit of an extra step in his bounce when he's in the gym now, that I think he is more motivated. But I think it was again, Matt's certainly like that. He's very calculated and methodical, and he thinks about the longevity of what he's trying to chase, and that's the titles. And he just put that as a priority, and I think that's certainly the best decision or right decision to do. Yeah. Did I answer it? Did you say what's up?
Yeah, that's correct. Well, Tia, what's your response to that?
Yeah, I agree, actually. And like for us to be able to train together, it's so important because there's just so much fun behind it. But yeah, it's really great to obviously have him back in full swing, and I'm just gonna have like a couple of days off, and then I'll be back joining him into our regular routine, and I'm really pumped for it, actually.
On that, with the whole Rogue celebrations and that you would have had, what did you actually do to let your hair hang down for a bit after the comp?
So we actually, Shane and I, Jackie and Joe and Jackie's family, we went out and had some dinner. And then Shane and I also came back and had some cheese and wine on our porch.
Oh, wine.
Yeah.
Yes, a little bit of red wine. Don't worry, it was only a glass. Everything in moderation. And
paleo.
Pretty much just chilled out. Yesterday, it was only 2 days of competition and only 6 workouts, but that was like, you worked out and then you rested for a little bit. You worked out and you rested. So it was quite, taxing on the body. And I just wanted to have just a chilled out night, to be honest, and caught up on some messages of people congratulating me, and it was just a really relaxed night. So it was nice.
I think it's so different than a normal section event or even the CrossFit Games because you're doing it by yourself. So you come home so you leave the gym or you leave the arena, so to speak, and there's no one out there. There's no crowds. There's no cheering. There's no media. There's nothing. So you just sort of like pack your bag like a normal training day, and then you just go home. In fact, we went to the servo, fueled up, come home, and just
We actually
like
went to the grocery store as
Yeah.
well.
and it's just crazy. It's just like I feel like just pointing out, just so you know, Tia just won a big accomplishment, guys. Just if anyone wants to celebrate this, but it's a bit different. I think it's actually quite strange, really, when you put it in comparison to other sanction events or other victories. Like 12 months ago at Rogue, when we were there, we went out, had a big night, you know, and had a big night.
Dinner paid for.
Yeah, so to have this one just on our balcony with just Tia and I was certainly a lot different.
It was nice though.
Oh yeah,
I
it was
really
awesome.
liked it.
And
Yeah.
and how you going?
With my husband.
How you going with Call of Duty, Shane? Did you celebrate on that?
I did.
Oh my goodness. And he woke me up this morning.
Yeah. But generally, yeah. Well, because you know what it's like, the time zones in Australia. So I got up at 4:45 this morning, jumped on the line, and played with the guys back home. What's a decent hour there, 8 p.m. So it's mandatory. Look, getting messages right now actually about jumping on Call of Duty.
What's your kill to death ratio?
Look, I'm not one to boast, but what I will say for those that are listening, that it is a positive ratio. It is positive. Let's just put it there.
All right, guys. What's the future for you guys? Obviously, everything with COVID-19 and with all the events being cancelled. What's the future for you guys?
You know, I think that the future for us is trying to figure out whether or not we are going to be competing at the CrossFit Games or not. There's a lot of uncertainty around that with recent events that have been happening within the CrossFit community. And for us, you know, we've really got to think about what the right decision is, not just for ourselves, but for our family and friends, and also for our community. And for us, it's very important that we really stick true to our values and really try and learn and listen to what's really going on and what the underlying issue really is. And that's something that we are in the process of trying to figure out ourselves. But for us, it's back into the gym. You know, I'm going to have a couple days off and then back into the gym and working on my fitness and, you know, just trying to keep putting in the work, because you just never know when a new opportunity arises. So that for now is what the future looks like. Yeah.
Shane, are you aligned with Tia on that one, or do you have your own?
Well, mine's a bit different. Probably about 30 minutes from now, I'll probably jump back on the PlayStation.
All right,
no, it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
All
What are you thinking?
All right, guys, I love you both, and we'll end it there.
Thank you so much for having us,
Yeah.
Patty. It was an honor to be on your channel.
Yeah, Pat, it's so awesome to be part of the More Orr podcast. I think it's
podcast. I've got 600 subscribers.
Okay.
Oh wow!
What, is it a podcast? Is it just YouTube? What do we got here?
It's YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for letting me be a part of the More Orr YouTube.
Channel, yep.
600. He's working on. He's building.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully we can create it. Just share your link, and I'll share it on my YouTube channel as well, and my Instagram.
Yeah, no worries, guys. And I'll cut it off there.
What time's the next class?
4 p.m. It's 11:21 in the morning.